tell me about the study that you did of looking at microplastics in the brain and why that's setting off alarm bells for you.
Well, I think it's very personal for everybody. The brain is what sets us apart. We cherish our brain. We think highly of our intelligence, and our brain contains our personality and our emotions. And we're now hit with this idea that there's something in it inside of our brains that we did not want there. We don't know that it's detrimental yet. The point we discussed earlier about how it's going up over time
Right.
is the real cause for concern. One of the discoveries we've had lately that's not published is that where we were sampling from, which is the frontal cortex,
Okay.
that seems to be the highest amount in the brain, concentration wise. The rest of the brain still has some, but it's less.
And can
So,
you tell folks again what is typically happening and being controlled through the frontal cortex?
sure, that's our executive region. So a lot of our thinking and decision making is going on up there.
It does show up, as you mentioned, in other parts of the body, kidneys, other areas we talked about. Why is the brain a hotspot for collecting microplastics?
Well, part of it is that the brain is not a clearance organ, whereas
Right, right.
the kidney and the liver are kind of designed to handle things and get rid of stuff. So that might be part of it. The other part is that the plastics are lipophilic. The analogy I like to use is if you've ever cleaned a Tupperware bowl that had like bacon grease or fat,
Yep.
butter in it, it's going to take a lot of soap, hot water to
Yes.
get that clean, right? So
Unless you're
lipids,
using Dawn. If you're using Dawn, it'll take it right out.
sponsored by Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Um, so we think that because the brain has the myelinated regions, especially in the frontal cortex, that's a lot of lipid. It's not what we think of as fat, like fat around your belly. But they are lipids, and so we think that the plastics, especially these nanoplastic shards, are kind of getting trapped or packaged within the brain as a result of that relationship.
Okay, it's the inevitability of now thinking about this, and we've had plenty of discussions on this show about dementia, Alzheimer's, other components of it, mind, personality changes, and so forth that are coming out of this. My thoughts start running to what role are these microplastics having? I'm assuming when Dr. Alzheimer came in and concocted this theory that microplastics were not an issue. So it didn't created by this, but it seems inevitable that or undeniable that Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia are getting worse.
Are plastics making things worse, or are they counteracting some of the advancements we're trying to make in therapy, in medical care for people with dementia? That is a very difficult um, question to suss out. There's some nice studies. Andrew West from Duke had done a study showing that little nanoplastics can cause the aggregation of synuclein, which is more associated with Parkinson's, but is also a part of the neurodegenerative outcomes that you see in dementia. There's a more recent paper looking at amyloid beta,
Yep.
and the
Yep.
same idea. These plastics might cause the aggregation or accelerate the aggregation of these really
Interesting.
detrimental proteins.
Now, your study showed that patients with dementia do have up to 10 times more of the plastic in their brains. So there seems to be obviously somewhere there's a correlation on one way or another here.
And we're hesitant to jump to any kind of causality because the study design, it's very possible that the Alzheimer's brain is just a more hospitable environment
Yep.
for these to
Yep.
land in. One of the things we noticed was there seemed to be a lot of these, refractile particles that we think are plastics all along the blood-brain barrier. And we know that in the dementia cases, the blood-brain barrier is typically impaired. So it could just be that these are passing through more readily and getting stuck there in the
Hmm.
uh, inflammatory regions of the brain.
Are there other implications that also speculate dementia may be playing, i.e., inflammation. That the plastics are causing inflammation in some of the vessels or otherwise that we're also looking at.
You know, it's interesting. Latex and polystyrene, they don't create a great deal of an immune response, even when you put them directly on immune cells in culture.
Okay,
So I honestly think our body doesn't respond that well to them, and that's part of why they accumulate. Um,
interesting. Okay,
I think that they hijack their way in with the lipids that we eat. So I think that these plastics are incredibly well disguised. It's like they're wearing a cloak of invisibility inside the
hmm.
body. And so the immune cells are not necessarily getting activated by them. Um, but then fast forward to the degradation process. Is it possible that there are things coming off of the plastics within those contained units that do look alarming? Are they looking like oxidized lipids that are known to trigger
Hmm.
atherosclerosis and blood-brain barrier deficits? So there's I have a vivid imagination, but I don't have a lot of data on this.
Okay, okay. The question that I'd love us to dig into, and I'm sure again, as folks are listening, you're getting the understanding here. And now we're getting into, well, gosh, this does not sound great. How do these things get into my brain? And I look now and I'm realizing I'm drinking from a blue plastic cup as we are having this. So I may be answering my own question of how these microplastics are getting into our bodies.
Where did I put my prop? These fresh plastic bottles. I like to argue this isn't a problem for you; it's a problem for your grandchildren.
Got it.
You can empty this thing and refill it 10,000 times, and the mass of the plastic bottle won't change perceptibly. But eventually, the entirety of this will become microplastics once it gets into landfill. So we think that the pathway is an agricultural pathway where the the particles of plastic are low density and they float in water. But we take this water that's got floating plastics and we put it on our crops and it
Yep.
builds up in the soils and then we feed it to livestock and we put the manure back on the you know like we're just aggregating and amplifying this in our food pathway. And we do have some data that suggests that more processed food is worse for you. So, sausage or processed meat products may contain more plastics. So that to us seems to be the most logical explanation for where these are coming from.